All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us again. We're super excited to be here to talk about teaching routines in school-wide common areas. Great topic as we think about heading back to school, or some of us are already back at school. So I'm going to turn it over to Tina. She's here today. She's back again to share with us all her wisdom and knowledge from being a school leader and helping her school iron out all of these tricky areas.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kristen. And thank you, everyone. If you've been with us for the first and the second session, we talked about building positive community and parent outreach for busy leaders. We're so thankful that you're coming back. We know how critical this time is for you preparing and planning, but that you're taking some moments of your day out to be with us. So hopefully you take some good things out of this section. A little bit about me, if you weren't on the first one or the second one, 24 years in public education, 8 years as an elementary administrator, and now I am the Chief of Educational Partnerships here at the Center for Responsive Schools. And I've been a workshop facilitator for over 18 years, so I love this. And I was able to really embed the responsive classroom mindset into the school that I worked with, which was How Elementary. So I'm so excited I'll get to share and show some of the How Elementary resources that we did. Now, sneak peek, next week, leading all school meetings. So I get to be a part of that one as well. Language, and then empowering teachers to lead a book study as well. So we hope you'll continue to join us during these short snippets of time. All right, so let's just take a moment. You've already in the chat talked about, here's some of those common areas that maybe posed a problem. And we know that routines and procedures are such daily tasks that are so key. We want the school to feel orderly and calm and positive as well. So it starts at the moment of arrival, and it goes all the way until the last child's on that bus as well. And establishing these routines early and reinforcing them often builds that predictability and that familiarity. So what I want you to do is just envision those common school areas that hum with excitement and routine. Which ones do you feel like, yeah, we've got this? You don't have to put anything in the chat. Just get your mindset wrapped around which school areas hum with that excitement and that routine. All right. So now let's flip it. And some of you already had a chance to in the chat. Which common areas maybe generate concerns for safety or self-control? Maybe not just posing challenges, but it's a safety issue. It's a self-control issue. Where are those areas? So if you already put something in the chat, you don't have to again. But if you didn't get a chance to, let's put those in, because I want that to really kind of put the why out there, why we're doing this and taking the time to talk about this today. So go ahead and put those common areas that generate concerns for safety or self-control in the chat.
I see playground, recess, lunchroom, hallways, after school, carpool, pickup time, pickup lines, transitioning, walking, probably, some schools are really spread out. So that walk from the gymnasium all the way back to the classroom is really, really far, right? Lunchroom, recess. Yep. The mud room. If you're in snow country, you've got kids putting on boots, taking off boots. I know in Vermont, a lot of schools go skiing in the afternoon. That's a lot of gear to organize.
And you probably can tell from my accent, I'm from Wisconsin, so we definitely have a lot of snow and snowshoes and snow things going on. We'll talk about a winter remodel in just a little bit as well. So what we know is the first 6 weeks of school are such a critical time for us to set those expectations and those routines. It's this beautiful opportunity to go slow, to go fast. We take the time, and sometimes, especially as leaders at the beginning of the year, it's like, oh, I just want them to do the right thing. You have to invest in that routine and that predictability for them as well. And what we want to have is our common areas be calm, be routine, not a place of stress and disorder. And that doesn't happen day one. I would always say day one of school, get them there, get them fed, get them home. Arrival, lunchroom, dismissal. Those were my big three on the first few days of school. So during our time today, what I really want to do is talk about some key responsive classroom practices, highlight some of our great resources from Fly 5 and Responsive Classroom, and to share how my elementary school, how we navigated some of those challenges as well. All right. So let's just take a moment and I want you to reflect and think about the statements on the screen. Which of these would you say describe your current process? So you don't need to put anything in the chat, but just do a brief reflection. Take a look at this list. So for me, and in our building, those common areas were defined as places where most students walk through or to during the day. So hallways, bathrooms, stairwells, cafeteria, playground, arrival and dismissal locations. And I'm so glad the person in the chat that put the bus as well. We would have something called bus school, especially for those children that really struggled and needed it as well. So absolutely, we want consistency. I think an underutilized strategy too is the developmental appropriateness. We can't talk to fifth graders in those common areas like we would those first graders as well. So be thinking of how we can dial it up or dial it down for those different developmental ages and stages as well. All right, so now is a little bit of work for you. I want you to select one of these common areas. Now, I know you might have a variety that you want to work from, but if you could, pick one of these, a cafeteria or arrival dismissal, bathroom, hallway, and recess, and make a T-chart. You can find a Post-it note or a scratch piece of paper, make a T-chart, and what I want you to do is think about on the left, what is working in that area? Remember, the responsive classroom mindset, we always want to focus in on the positive, right? And reinforce that positive. Left of the T-chart, what's working in that area? Right of the T-chart, what is it that might need adjustment? What might need work? So I'm going to give you about a minute, pick one of these and jot yourself some notes. All right, get your final thought down. Never enough time, I know. All right. By being able to focus in on one location, we can't tackle it all right away, but when you can celebrate, when you can define what is it that's going well, that's half the battle. Defining what needs adjustment, that's the other half of the battle. And now it's thinking, how can we put those into place? I always learned from the last year, what was the hot mess? Then I made sure to emphasize that at the beginning of the next year. All right, so let's just talk a moment about routines and procedures. So routines and procedures, this is the why. We want staff alignment. We want skill development, not only for the students, but I can't have the lunch teacher or the person out on the playground telling the students something different than when the second grade teacher takes the class out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Everyone needs to be aligned with those common expectations. We also want to nurture independence. So we can often say and hear from teachers, oh, I wish they had more self-control. Then that's on us to nurture it, teach it, and celebrate that. And think of those children that are so proud walking down the hallway. They get to take a note to the office. Oh, they're going to get the snack from the cafeteria or things. They feel good when they know the routine and the expected procedures as well. So our Fly 5 curriculum is also another great place to find lessons by grade level to teach and enhance those self-control skills in students. And towards the end, we're going to share about a free pilot if you'd like to check that out as well. So something that's key with routines and procedures, I love the term fair and firm, clear and caring. I use that often in the school that I worked at and was blessed to serve as well. I want to be fair, firm. That means we're going to hold you to these expectations, but I'm also going to make sure that you understand them, you were taught them, and it was clear and given in a caring way. So when you celebrate and name the desired behavior, so if you look at down below towards the bottom of the bulleted list, you reduce misbehavior by ensuring that students know what to do. They're clear, they're highlighted often. So that means we want to really utilize our effective language. And even as leaders of a school, we want to use that reinforcing language and reminding language. So I celebrate and specifically state the desired behavior. Now, it used to be, and if you remember from my first webinar with you all, it was the good jobs. I used to be the queen of good jobs. Oh, good job, good job. I needed to be very specific with that feedback. So use the terms I see, I notice. But remember not to say a child's name with that in front of other children, because that might cause tension. So, oh, I see Tina doing the right thing. Then Kristen might have some feelings about that too. So what I might say is, I noticed second graders doing this. I noticed Mrs. Miller's class doing this. I see how Bulldogs being respectful to others when lining up, and when you create space in between each other while lining up. That's the key way of giving those expected behaviors and reinforcing as well. So anytime we teach those procedures and protocols, we have a great tool and strategy called interactive modeling. And if you're already here, you know probably the benefits of interactive modeling. Here's the things to remember, leaders, and to remind your staff, is that it's not interactive modeling that's narrating and showing. All right. So we want to not just show and narrate, we want them to interact. We want the children to have an active role in that procedure. Talk less, they listen more. So interactive modeling is not show and narrate. All right. So students can benefit from visuals or videos to feel comfortable in those routines already established. So after I got, used to this and doing this sort of all school common area practice, I got savvy in my older years as I would start to record them. And it made little infomercials. So a new student would come, or students that maybe needed some tier 2, tier 3 practice with Mrs. Miller, then we would watch that expectation video, or staff could use it in their classroom as well. And it was just on my iPhone, and it was just for internal use. But what it did is it gave that visual representation of here's the expected behaviors as well. So new students can benefit from those visuals. You can use it to reinforce and remind so that they feel comfortable in those routines. So with developing anchor charts or visual support, I'm going to share some of those with you that were present at Howe Elementary as well. Remember, with reinforcing language, we highlight the skills, positive efforts, and attitudes. That's what we're trying to do with reinforcing language. And a child maybe that has struggled in the hallway and you saw them walking, you're so excited with that. You could say to them, you walked safely in the hallway today. What helped you follow our rules? It's putting it back on them. The reminding language, students can only be reminded of what they've already been taught. So teach first and ask students and prompt them to remember for themselves. And it shows faith in their competence. So think about what you can do to be safe in line. And that could be even before or after an event. What could we do to be safe in the stairwell? Or you could even say, in a minute, we're going to head down to the library. Who can remember 2 things about being safe in the stairwells? Brief is key. All right, so here's some interactive modeling formats. And remember that you will have a copy of all of these slides. We're going to send that to you. Kristen's going to do all that for us. But the difference between elementary grades and secondary grades. So interactive modeling, again, is not narrate. It's this idea of watch and what did you notice? Their words, not my words, right? So modeling the behavior. An underutilized part of this, or I think underappreciated part, is the why. Students, staff, everyone needs to know the why are we doing this? And then also at the end, the feedback. That is key to give the feedback as well. So creating calm and orderly routines helps model and maintain those clear, high expectations. So school leaders, when we do this in front of our staff, it's reinforcing what we want them to do in the classrooms as well. All right. So now the building that I was at was Howe Elementary School, right? And I put the little image on there. Here was our process, what we did, because we uncovered that there was inconsistencies between staff, and it could have been staff turnover, or it just wasn't clearly articulated in our operating procedures in our guidebook. So I was blessed to lead this school for 8 years. And once you've been at a place for a few years, you really get to understand the flow and the areas that need maybe some more attention as well. And each year we got better and better with our common area practice. The one thing that I loved is towards the end when I could use the same schedule. Pretty much, I just pulled out the accordion file. Yes, I know, not digital, but the accordion file, and I had everything ready to go. Just updated a few things, and then we were off. And that feels good when you have systems and routines, and that's what we deserve to have as well. So one thing that I'll share a little bit more later too, but when we were out on the playground, I had the areas clearly articulated. The papers were in a plastic sleeve on a ring, and I could hand it to anybody as well to lead those different areas. So developing our common language was one of our first and most important things. Can we all agree to high five or give me five? Or restaurant rules? We had some common language in those common areas that felt good for all the adults to get comfortable with that common language. We also made sure to create an interactive modeling plan for each area, because if someone was out that day on the common area practice day, they were able to take that lesson and use it right away. Now, kitchen managers attended the cafeteria sessions. Lunch teachers were outside with the classroom teachers, because again, I want everyone to hear that same message. Lunch teachers are outside when the children rotate into the different zones. All of these plans were created together. They were communicated with all stakeholders, and they were available in our shared drive too. So once we got this kind of down pat, other schools in our district kind of picked up on it, and they were like, yes, we want to do this as well. And it creates shared ownership and clear and consistent expectations as well. I love number 5, all hands on deck. So we would do it on the second day of school. So we would call it common area practice and second day of school, everybody. Classroom teachers are with their students. Paras are with that group of students. Any of the other, reading interventionists and different people, they were assigned to different areas. Even our specialists, they were all hands on deck because this was important. So here's our common areas. Like I shared before, we really focused in on cafeteria, arrival dismissal, bathroom, hallway, stairs, and recess. My elementary school had 2 floors, which poses some issues with with littles and going up and down the stairs as well. So here's an example of our common language. Quick, quiet, clean for the bathrooms. And just that little phrasing helped everyone. That was that quick and gentle reminder. Restaurant rules. We would take some time when we modeled and practiced in the cafeteria, how we want to be and how to show that decorum and empathy for other children who are eating as well. Line basics, be a top dog. We were the Howe Elementary Bulldogs, so we talked often about be a top dog. And school grounds, school rules. Even if you're here on campus after school, here's what we expect to be like, even if you're outside on the playground. All right, so our visuals and videos. So we created those interactive modeling plans, and they were shared with the adults. I wanted it to be able to be personalized. It doesn't have to be cookie cutter. What should be cookie cutter is here's what we expect when you come in and out of the building. Here's how we want children to walk in the hallways as well. Learn from what didn't work the year before. Learn from the data. What did you see and notice? Then you emphasize that for the next year's interactive models. All right. And I loved having these sort of visuals, and this totally is not polished, but it's real. Let me just put that out there, right? Like this is an elementary school that I had a 3rd grade teacher that was willing to make a poster. Great, go and make that poster, that it could be in the cafeteria. So all of our common areas, we tried to have some visuals ready to go as reminders as well. All right, this is my favorite part. Oh, okay. So how did we really pull this off? All right, so you'll notice on the left, this was our staff assignment. So all classroom teachers and aides are with their classes. So then in the cafeteria, I was there. That was the most important one to me. And the kitchen staff, and then our custodian, and then one of our lunch teachers. So all of us, we were a united team. We all had different parts of what we talked about. The custodian modeled how when you tap your lunch tray into the garbage so it doesn't fly all over the place too. So all of the areas had assigned staff, and then the classrooms rotated. So on the right here, you're going to see it's just a 25-minute time frame. We grouped certain ones together because like hallway isn't going to take 25 minutes to model that. So that's why we grouped certain areas together and had designated places where they met in the school as well. There's a 5-minute buffer in between so that they could go to the next location. We tried to work around their specials because we know at the second day of school, teachers need that special time. They need to just regroup and get settled during that time too. So we tried to work around it, or we had the specials teacher go with that class during that time frame. So the teacher could still get, a classroom teacher could still get a break during that time frame as well. And it was day 2, but we also did it day 2 after coming back from winter break. Anytime you have breaks, you want to make sure to go back and reinforce and remind during this time. Now, kindergarten, you're going to see at the bottom of this too, that kindergarten will design and administer their own boot camp. Developmentally, I wanted those kindergarten teachers to have our support, but on day 2, they're puddles. They're tired. They can't be going through all these areas. So we took that kind of as a different pathway. And I wanted to really empower those kindergarten teachers to say, here's what I think we're ready for as well. All right. So here's an example of our winter remodel. So reinforcing and remodeling is so key. So like I shared, either being from Wisconsin or out east, if you have the snow, that brings a whole host of recess gear changes, winter gear, they're putting on snow pants, timing's out the window. Oh, snow. But it also gives them so much more to do on the playground as well. So here's what I tried to do last year is that I really tried to say, we are going to do a common area practice, but it's not going to be as intensive as the beginning of the year. Here's going to be things that I feel like are going well that the teacher can just reinforce, such as arrival and dismissal was going well. Thank goodness. The staircase in the bathrooms. So what I put towards the bottom of my letter too, I did the reminders of interactive modeling, but also that there's sections where staff, you do that when it fits in. But these top ones, we're going to be things that we're going to practice together. And again, you'll get a copy of all of these slides too. All right. So the joy of recess. So I wanted to have some time together to think about recess. And again, I know these pictures are rudimentary, but it worked. All right. So here's what we did. We took a Google Earth image of our playground, and our school, we had a pretty good sized playground, and we divided it into different zones because we wanted to be able to articulate what should happen in these zones. How do we interact with the students in those zones? And that's how I had the recess staff assigned. So during lunch recess, I would maybe have one lunch teacher that was supervising zones 1 and 2 and walking directly in between those two. It just helped us name and notice those certain areas of the playground as well. So during the practice, during that common area practice, it was important to me to assign a lunch teacher along with the classroom teacher in that group. And they rotated through all the different sections as well, so that they're hearing that common language, common expectations. And again, we had a whole list and some interactive models already planned out for them to interact with during that recess experience as well. All right. So another piece to playground isn't just, here's how you get the balls, here's how you put away the balls. It's also problem solving. So interactive modeling is key, but don't forget about role play. So role play is another great strategy, and they can do that in the classrooms. You can do that during an all-school gathering, which I'll talk about next week. Join us again for next week. But it could be, we're going to role play how to ask someone to play, how to be a good sport, how to play with many friends when everybody wants to play with you. And that is a beautiful thing, because I'll talk about 4th grade. There can be some girl drama in 4th grade. Let me tell you that. So I knew that about 4th graders. So I invited myself in and I started some role plays because I really wanted to be a part of that 4th grade and headed off at the pass. So thinking about how we can proactively build skills in children from what we know has been a challenge in the past. So consider what you want to emphasize for safety and problem solving. And also, great, cool takeaway you'll get today is we have a resolving differences quickly Fly 5 free pilot for you. So we invite you to come see all of our great resources with Fly 5. Kristen will be adding this into the chat, and she'll add that in to the resources afterwards. But one small slice of Fly 5 is resolving differences quickly. And for me, guess what? I needed that for playground support, and I wanted to build those skills in the children. So we'd love for you to take a look at Fly 5 and check out that for a totally free pilot for that as well. All right. So I have been talking for a while, and I want to hear from you. And let me just show you one, just as we kind of close this little section up. Recess is such a joyful time, but it can also be a challenging time too. So I want you to think about what were some strategies that you put in place? And if you could put this in the chat, because we're learning from each other, what are some strategies that you put in place that worked to have a safe, calm, and orderly recess time? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Love it. I see a lot of zones too, that you're doing that similar thing where we're breaking our large areas into zones, not only for supervision, but children to know what goes on in those areas. Mm.
Teaching cooperative games, so taking kids out and building community, but also teaching them what can you do out here if you're not into like kicking a soccer ball around? What are some other options out here?
Mhm.
Peer leaders.
And it's this mindset of we have to teach recess. Now, some people had said to me, Tina, I feel like we shouldn't have to teach recess. We're not teaching them specific play. What we're teaching them is how to navigate play. We want to give them options for here's ideas for play. So it's actually, that's what I would call it. We have to teach recess, which is why I wanted lunch teachers, because even in the cafeteria, they're learning skills and strategies for empathy, for self-control. Same on the playground, how to navigate for a first grader, a complex social situation when everybody wants to play with me and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We can help them. And that's just growing skills for life for children's success as well. All right. So I wanted to just take a moment and thank you. Thank you for leading with consistency and clear expectations. Again, I love talking about this stuff. So book a meeting. Let's talk more. Let's think about what we can do to bring these great resources to your school, your site, and my contact information is right on there as well. So I would love to connect with you more. And thank you so much for being a part of today. As a highlight, next week, leading all school meetings, all school gatherings, I'll be leading that one as well. And then we'll finish off with language and empowering teachers to lead a book study. All right.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much,
much.
Tina. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you. Appreciate it.